All right, so get this. So we're diving into deep time today, like seriously deep time.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be talking about how humans have been changing the Earth.
Okay.
Not just like in the ways that we see every day,
Right.
but on a massive geological scale.
Huge.
You sent in an article
Okay.
called How People Have Been Shaping the Earth,
Yeah.
which got us thinking,
Okay.
is all this human activity really enough to like kick off a whole new chapter in Earth's history? A new epoch even.
It's a fascinating question, and the answer might surprise you.
Okay.
To understand the impact we're having,
Right?
we need to think of Earth's rock layers,
Okay.
like a gigantic history book.
I like that.
Each layer is a page filled with clues about past climates, the creatures that lived then, and even those dramatic extinction events.
Okay. I love a good history book analogy.
Yeah.
But just like an old book, I'm guessing the Earth's pages aren't always in perfect condition, right?
Exactly. The rock record is more like a diary that's been through a lot. Missing pages, faded entries, the whole deal.
Oh, no.
But even with those gaps, it tells us almost everything we know about the 4.54 billion years of Earth's history.
Wow.
We've divided that immense timescale into eons, eras, periods, epochs.
Okay.
Think of them like chapters in this Earth history book.
That's a long book.
It is.
And now some scientists think we're adding a whole new chapter with this Anthropocene idea,
Right.
combining human and new.
Yeah.
It's basically saying humans are the main characters now.
That's one way to put it. It
Yeah.
is a pretty radical idea.
It is.
The term was actually coined back in the 80s by a biologist named Eugene Stormer,
Okay.
but it really took off when chemist Paul Crutzen started using it in the early 2000s.
Okay.
What makes the Anthropocene so controversial is that it suggests humans are now the driving force of change on Earth,
Wow.
rivaling natural processes that took millions of years to play out.
So we're talking about more than just climate change here.
Right.
The article mentioned ocean acidification, biodiversity loss.
Uh-huh.
It even brought up the Tasmanian tiger.
Oh, yeah.
Hunters wiped out the last one in the wild in 1930.
That's right.
It's kind of terrifying how fast we can impact a species.
Absolutely. While climate change is a huge part of the Anthropocene discussion,
Yeah.
it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Oh, okay.
Ocean acidification is another big one.
All right.
As we pump more and more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, the ocean absorbs a lot of it.
Okay.
This creates carbonic acid,
Uh-huh.
making the ocean more acidic.
Right.
And that's bad news for lots of sea creatures,
Yeah.
especially those with shells made of calcium carbonate.
Like those tiny foraminifera the article mentioned?
Yes,
I'll be honest, I had never heard of them before.
they're pretty obscure.
But apparently they're super important for the ocean's food web.
They are
If they disappear, it could cause a whole chain reaction.
a domino effect.
And all these changes we're making, they're not just temporary, are they?
Unfortunately, not.
It's like we're writing our own chapter in Earth's history book, whether we want to or not.
You could say that.
Millions of years from now, future geologists might be able to look at the rock layers
Right.
and see the evidence of our impact.
Like an fingerprint.
Just like we can see evidence of the dinosaur extinction.
Exactly. We're leaving our mark on the planet in all sorts of ways.
Okay.
Think about plastic pollution.
Yeah,
That stuff is incredibly durable and it's ending us everywhere.
it's true.
Then there are radioactive isotopes from nuclear testing.
Right.
And even changes in the composition of sediments due to deforestation and agriculture.
So all kinds of things.
All sorts of human markers.
So future geologists might be able to pinpoint a distinct Anthropocene layer in the rock record,
It's possible.
characterized by all these human-made markers.
A layer unlike any other.
It's both mind-blowing and kind of sobering to think about.
I agree.
So let's dig a little deeper into one of these big impacts.
Okay.
Ocean acidification.
Right.
The article mentions something called the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum,
Right.
which sounds like a mouthful.
It is a bit of a tongue twister.
But apparently it was a period about 56 million years ago
Uh-huh.
when the Earth experienced a similar spike in CO2 and ocean acidity.
That's right.
Is that a sign of things to come?
It's definitely a period worth looking at.
Okay.
During the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, or PTM for short,
PTM.
massive amounts of carbon dioxide entered the atmosphere over thousands of years,
Okay.
likely due to volcanic activity.
Right.
This led to a rapid increase in global temperatures and ocean acidifications,
Uh-huh.
causing widespread extinctions,
Yep.
particularly among marine organisms with calcium carbonate shells,
Right.
much like those foraminifera we talked
Hold
about.
on. Thousands of years.
Yeah,
But the CO2 increase we're seeing now is happening over just centuries.
that's right. Way
That's that
fast.
faster.
That's got to be a huge concern.
It is. That rapid pace of change is what worries scientists most.
Okay.
It might not give species enough time to adapt,
Right.
potentially leading to even more widespread extinctions.
Oh, wow. Some researchers think large areas of the ocean could become so acidic that only bacteria could survive there.
Wow. Okay, that's scary stuff.
It is a concern.
But the article also mentioned that not everyone is on board with this whole Anthropocene idea.
Right.
It brought up a geologist named Stan Finney,
Okay.
who argued that plants have drastically changed Earth, too, by generating oxygen.
That's true.
We don't have a Plantocene epoch, though, do we?
That's a good point.
What's the counter-argument there?
Finney's argument is an important one.
Right.
It acknowledges that humans have undoubtedly impacted the planet.
Yeah.
But it raises the question,
Okay.
is our impact truly significant enough to warrant its own epoch on the geological timescale? Is it as profound and long-lasting as the changes brought about by plants billions of years ago?
So is the Anthropocene real?
That is the question.
Are we leaving a mark that will last for millions of years? Or will Earth's natural processes eventually erase our impact like a giant geological edge, a sked?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
We don't have a definitive answer yet.
Okay.
It's a debate that will likely continue for years to come
Right.
as scientists gather more evidence and analyze the long-term effects of human activity.
I see.
The Anthropocene for now remains a proposed epoch, a concept that challenges us to think critically about our relationship with the planet
Okay.
and the legacy we're leaving behind.
All right.
A
So,
lot to think about.
yeah, a lot to think about.
Definitely.
Welcome back. Last time we were talking about how human activity might be pushing the Earth into a new geological epoch, the Anthropocene. It's a mind-blowing idea, but is there really enough evidence to support it? What would future geologists actually see in the rock record that would scream, humans were here?
That's the key question. Remember how we talked about Earth's rock layers being like a history book? Well, if the Anthropocene is a new chapter, what will the words on those pages say?
Yeah. What kind of human signature are we etching into the geological record?
Well, the article pointed to a few pretty obvious markers. One would be the presence of plastics. They're incredibly durable practically everywhere on the planet now and will likely persist for thousands of years. Imagine future geologists digging up a layer of rock just chock full of fossilized water bottles and plastic bags.
Talk about a lasting legacy. Okay, but plastic isn't the only thing we're leaving behind, right?
Not even close. Another potential marker is radioactive isotopes from nuclear weapons testing.
Right.
These isotopes were spread globally and leave a very distinct signature in the environment. So even though those bombs themselves are long gone, their fallout lingers in the rocks for millennia.
Wow. So it's not just about the trash we leave behind, it's about actually changing the chemical composition of the planet.
Exactly. And then there are the changes in sediment composition caused by things like deforestation and agriculture. The way we use land literally alters the layers of dirt and rock beneath our feet. It might seem subtle, but these shifts are noticeable to geologists.
So we're leaving our mark in a whole bunch of ways, from plastic debris to radioactive isotopes to altered soil composition. It paints a pretty clear picture, would you say?
It's certainly compelling evidence. But to really grasp the significance of the Anthropocene, we need to go beyond just these physical markers. We need to look at the underlying processes driving these changes. One of the most significant is the dramatic increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide, or CO2.
Right, we touched on that before in terms of ocean acidification. But CO2 is also a major greenhouse gas, meaning it traps heat in the atmosphere and warms the planet. So more CO2 means a warmer Earth, which is what's driving climate change. That's pretty basic stuff, though, right? What's the Anthropocene-specific angle here?
The key difference is the speed of change. Before the Industrial Revolution, CO2 levels were pretty stable for thousands of years, hovering around 280 parts per million. But now, thanks to all the fossil fuels we're burning, they've shot up past 400 parts per million in many places.
Okay, yeah, that's a huge jump in a ridiculously short amount of time.
Exactly. And that rapid increase is already having major impacts on the planet. Melting glaciers, rising sea levels, more extreme weather events. We're not just talking about gradual shifts here. We're talking about changes that are happening within human lifetimes.
It's like hitting the fast-forward button on Earth's natural processes.
In a way, yes. And these changes aren't just temporary. They're leaving a permanent mark on the Earth's systems. This kind of rapid warming hasn't happened in millions of years, and it's completely reshaping the planet's climate.
So future geologists wouldn't just see those physical markers we talked about. They'd also see evidence of this dramatic climate shift in the rock record.
Absolutely. They might find evidence of changes in plant and animal life, shifts in sea level, even changes in the chemical composition of ancient ice cores. The evidence of this rapid warming would be hard to miss.
Okay, so we've talked about CO2, climate change, ocean acidification, all pretty heavy stuff. But what about biodiversity loss? The article mentioned that as a hallmark of the Anthropocene, too.
It's a critical issue. We're losing species at an alarming rate due to habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change. Remember the Tasmanian tiger example? That's just one of countless species that have gone extinct because of human activities.
It's almost like we're playing a cosmic game of Jenga, pulling out species one by one and hoping the whole tower doesn't collapse.
It's a sobering analogy. Biodiversity is essential for the health of ecosystems, and losing species disrupts those intricate webs of life. It impacts everything from the air we breathe to the food we eat.
So it's not just about some abstract idea of saving the planet. It's about safeguarding the very systems that keep us alive.
Exactly. Biodiversity loss is a threat to human well-being just as much as it is a threat to the natural world.
Okay, so we've got CO2 levels skyrocketing the climate, changing faster than ever, species disappearing left and right. If all this is happening within the blink of an eye, geologically speaking, does that mean we can actually pinpoint when the Anthropocene began? Is there a specific year we can circle on the calendar and say this is where it all started?
That's a question that sparked a lot of debate among scientists. Some argue that the Anthropocene began thousands of years ago with the advent of agriculture when humans started clearing forests and altering landscapes on a large scale. Others say it started more recently, maybe with the Industrial Revolution or the first atomic bomb test. Those events mark a dramatic acceleration of human impact on the planet.
So there's no easy answer.
Not really. It's more of a spectrum of change than a single defining moment. But the very fact that we're having this debate, that we're seeing these dramatic shifts happening within a geological instant, is a testament to the power we now wield as a species.
It's kind of a terrifying power, isn't it? I mean, we're not just talking about changing the course of human history here. We're talking about changing the course of Earth's history.
It's a humbling realization, but recognizing the Anthropocene isn't about despair. It's about understanding. It's about recognizing the responsibility that comes with this power and finding ways to use it wisely.
So we've laid out the evidence, the markers in the rock record, the driving forces behind the Anthropocene. But what does it all mean for us? What are the potential consequences if we continue down this path? We'll explore that in part 3. Okay, so we've established that human activity is leaving a mark on the planet, a serious one, potentially ushering in this new Anthropocene epoch. But let's get real. What does that actually mean for the future? Are we talking like Mad Max-style wasteland or something a little less dramatic?
Well, hopefully we can avoid a full-blown apocalypse.
Okay, good.
But the potential consequences of, like, unchecked human impact are definitely something to take seriously. We're talking about more extreme weather events, rising sea levels that could displace millions of people, disruptions to agriculture and food security, potential mass extinctions, even the possibility of societal collapses if things get really bad.
Okay, yeah, not exactly a sunny outlook.
No.
But is it really all doom and gloom? I mean, isn't there anything we can do to, like, change course? Or are we just stuck on this runaway train?
I wouldn't say we're completely helpless. The point of recognizing the Anthropocene isn't to just like wallow in despair. It's about understanding the power we have and using it responsibly. We've created this situation, which means we also have the ability to change it.
So what can we actually do? I mean, I recycle, I try to save water, but does that really make a difference on a planetary scale?
Every little bit helps, absolutely. But to really tackle a problem this big, we need systemic change. We need to transition away from fossil fuels and embrace renewable energy sources like solar and wind. We need policies that protect biodiversity and promote sustainable land management. And frankly, we need to rethink our whole relationship with consumption and economic growth.
So it's not just about individual actions, it's about collective action on a global scale. That sounds like a tall order.
It is. It's a huge challenge, no doubt.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible. We have the knowledge, the technology, and frankly, the self-preservation instinct to create a more sustainable future. Think about it. We managed to pull together to phase out ozone-depleting chemicals when we realized the threat they posed. We can do the same with the challenges of the Anthropocene.
It sounds like we need a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah.
A whole new way of thinking about how we live, work, and consume. It's almost like, well, this might sound cheesy, but it's like we need to evolve as a species, not just biologically, but in terms of our consciousness and our values.
You're exactly right. It's about moving away from a mindset of dominance over nature and towards a mindset of partnership.
Okay.
Recognizing that we're not separate from the natural world, but an integral part of it, and that the choices we make today will have repercussions for generations to come.
So we've talked about the evidence for the Anthropocene, the potential consequences, and the kinds of changes we need to make. What's the single most important message you want to leave our listeners with today?
I think it's this. We have a choice. We can choose to be the generation that recognized the problem and rose to the challenge, or we can be the generation that saw the warning signs and did nothing. The Anthropocene is a call to action. It's a reminder that we are not just passengers on this planet, we are the pilots. And the course we chart now will determine the future of humanity and the entire biosphere.
Wow. Okay. Mic drop moments right there. That's pretty powerful stuff. And for you listening, we hope this deep dive has given you the new perspective on our place in the world and the power we have to shape the future. The Anthropocene isn't just a scientific concept. It's a story that's still being written. And we all have a role to play in how that story unfolds. So what will your chapter of the Anthropocene say? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Anthropocene.